keep this short. I know some of you were just in that the company town hall, which ran a little bit long. So some Roxen updates. Things are moving along and they're starting to move really quickly. We are getting the story templates done and all set up so that those work the way that we discussed last week. The ads are all connected in there. Just today, finally, Brightspot is now officially connected to Roxen. So that's going to allow us to do some better tests so that we can make sure everything is working. Soon, we're going to begin training, probably starting with like some of the managers next week so that we can be doing like mini tests. I'll come up with a better term for that, but essentially that we can set aside a few hours in a person's schedule for them to go through and try to build a few pages to get some practice in how Roxen works, to understand the pieces of it, potentially find stuff we didn't think about, any errors, stuff like that. There's going to be a lot of that before we begin the official rollout. And most of you will get the chance to do that before we start rolling anything out. And certainly before any of you are going to work in Roxen, you will have the chance to do that. Emma's having a puppy appearance on her shoulder. I just wanted to point that out in case you guys didn't see it. When I pointed it out, so she's hiding. No, sorry, Echo. So one of the things we talked a little bit about before is that all of our jobs are going to be changing pretty significantly. And so one thing I want to talk about is that with the training, what we're going to do is break into smaller groups for the training. And those groups then will be catered to what your previous job was. So what parts of the system you already know and what parts you don't. For example, if you're a page designer right now, probably the word Brightspot, and that's pretty much it. So sessions that have people from the Design Hub in it, we're going to go more into the Brightspot stuff than we necessarily need to do with people who've been in the pod, things like that. So we're going to make sure that we get training in those areas for you. One thing I'm trying to figure out is the best way to help you all learn just sort of the day-to-day of the roles that you're not as familiar with. For instance, if you're not a person who really has done much copy editing or proofreading, how best to help you learn those skills. Not necessarily to develop an encyclopedic knowledge of everything, but at least to go, okay, I know that there's a rule about dates, but I don't remember where it is, what it is, but I know where to look, things like that. So if any of you have any ideas on anything, like we're talking about, yeah, Michael.
I just had a question if the forum or forum communication still has access to an online AP style guide.
We still have the style guide. I'm not sure what the access rules for it look like because whenever I access it, I'm in the building. But I'm definitely going to check into that. Oh, Matt.
Yeah, we do. We have basically an account, and Angie from Fargo kind of is the account owner, but it's for everybody in the company. You just need to go to the login, and I'll put the website here in the chat. Trick is that only like 4 or 5 people can be on it at once, so it's not something you want to call up and have on your screen all day, because others won't be able to access it. So but it is, one second here, and I'll put it in the chat. But yeah, we do have one. We renew every year, so it's free to us. So that's where it is.
I think Emily raised her hand first.
Could we look into getting another account in the like transfer period, just in case like more than 4 people need it at once?
Based on what my understanding of the expense for that site is, probably not.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
we may just have to, if you can't get on, then just like post in the chat and be like, hey, who's on there? Close your window. Yeah. So Meredith. Okay. Called on her and then I get Meredith Williams is left. Fine. So yeah, so there's stuff like that. I am working on some cheat sheets of different things. But I know it's not always easy to learn something just by like, here, I got you this handout on how to write headlines, stuff like that. So especially, I mean, I guess for all of you, because if you're already, really skilled in one area, what helped you get those skills other than just doing it, and that's going to have to be part of it. And if you don't have skills in an area, what do you feel like is going to help you so that you can? Meredith just sent me a message. She accidentally hit the wrong button. She was just going to say that if people have style questions, that she's more than happy to be a reference. Meredith's got copy editing chops, and we definitely have, a lot of people who have that. And so that's, as part of this, trying to figure out some smaller groups of people with complementary skills who can work together on things. I believe Joe suggested we have a buddy system. So maybe everybody has a buddy. But, yes, and the company style guide, which we'll make sure that we share out with everybody. So yeah, we have some documentation. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to, just work through all of those things so that once you start working in Roxen and you're doing the entire process from the beginning to the end, that all of you feel like you have some comfort level with all the pieces of it. It's not necessarily going to be like, yeah, I got this, all of this, I'm great. But, to help with everything. Yeah, Michael.
I think this has been gone over before, but I forgot, so apologies. Will the copy be copy edited by the site prior to it getting to us? Like, will we be focusing more on display type and making sure that that stuff runs correctly? Or are we going to need to copy edit the whole story for facts and, understand Fargo intersections and that sort of stuff?
Mm-hmm. The stories are always supposed to be edited before they get to us by a local editor. I won't say I read them, but I at least skim through all of them just to see if anything jumps out. I also, Google Drive has a better spell check and grammar check built into it than the Chrome one that underlines stuff inside Brightspot. So I catch stuff that the editor didn't catch from their spell check. And that's one thing I'm looking into, is if there's an add-on or something that we can use that would catch some of those things when we're in the Roxen story editor. Because if we can find something like that to help us, that would be super. Yep. So again, any thoughts that you all have on that, I'd love to hear them, because I want to make sure that you're getting what you need. Yep, Paula?
Are we still going to have a budget, or how is it going to work? Like, how are the stories picked for the pages?
So right now, all the sites create a content list for the pod editor. And that content list says, this is what's going on the front. This is what goes inside the paper. This is what goes on the sports cover, that kind of stuff. And so we'll just take that and make the paper based on that. So, we'll say what stories they want on A1. So you'll put that stories on A1. You put the sports stories on the sports page, and then, the inside news pages, and you'll use that inside content. They also do note on their inside optional content. So you will have that available as well.
Sorry, that'll be listed in Roxen somehow?
No, it'll still be the Google document like it is now.
Okay.
And so it'll have the bright. So right now we have that content document. And when a story is ready, the editor puts the bright spot link, and the pod editor clicks on that bright spot link. And then that's how we know that we can take that story and then get the Google version out and stuff like that. In the future, we will click on that bright spot link. And then once we've double checked that everything is in bright spot that we need it to, then we'll click the send to Roxen button and send it to Roxen. So rather than sending it to a Google Doc.
Sorry. So we're eliminating the pod budget, but we're keeping the content. So we're gonna
Yep.
go down to, okay.
Yeah. So we're just going to use that content list to do it, because since we're going to have generally one person doing a section, it doesn't make sense for you to have to create any kind of page by page budget, since, like Emma, if you're doing Dickinson, you can just put the stories in as you're doing them and figure that out. So yeah, Emma.
Okay, that kind of went into my next question of, so they're not going to be looking at, the editors aren't going to be looking at dummies unless they do, because let's be real, some don't still to this day.
Yep.
But they'll just list cover and inside. They won't break it down page by page unless they want to or have been or whatever.
Yeah, we do have some properties that are still breaking it down page by page, and I certainly am not going to argue with those people about it right now. Like, we'll just let that go. That's fine, and in some cases, that's nice. So we'll do that. But otherwise, it's not going to be broken down page by page. So, okay, a few other questions that I had gotten. A few of them have to do with how to do different things in Brightspot. And so I'm going to answer those questions when we get to the Brightspot training part for those of you who haven't used Brightspot. So don't worry about that. I did get a question about the rules that we place between stories. If that's going to be done in InDesign or if it's done in Roxen. There is a way to do it in Roxen. So we'll be doing that. And when we do the full training, we'll walk through how to do that as well. But no, we're not going to open all the pages to add the rules. So scoreboard, we are going to open pages to do scoreboard, at least for right now, because scoreboards are really complicated. And, it just makes sense with a lot of the stuff that we have set up for the scoreboard to just use that scoreboard script, or, when it's national content, to just pull it onto the page from there. Anything that we can set up in Roxen as of right now is going to be more complicated and more time consuming than opening the page and doing it. So it seems kind of silly to make us change that to something that would take us more time. So obits and milestones. In Roxen, we're now going to have essentially a tab that's going to have those ads in. So we'll still have the spreadsheet that we check for counts, but then we'll be able to just place them all in Roxen and move them around on there. And again, during training, I'll show you all of that. But yep, that's already, they're all already actually are in there and flowing to Roxen each day. So when the deadline passes and the person in Modulist hits the okay that they do right after the deadline, then they all just drop in there right away and we'll be able to place them. Yep.
Are we going to be placing ads too, or is that going to be done before Roxen? I know it's done in Roxen, but I mean, is it done before the page setup, or will we be doing that too?
So layout will still set up the page, put all the ads on, all of that stuff that they do now. We won't be doing that. That'll still be the job of the layout center.
Okay.
Yep. For the weather graphics, the graphics we're working on it. we have to figure out how to help DAY make a little change in how they send things. But then the weather graphics should be able to just drop onto those pages without us having to do it. We are figuring out like for the moon information and stuff like that. Probably we're just going to continue doing it by hand because again, it's something that the amount of work it would take to do just wouldn't really be worth it. And also, to be able to move the moons to the different order and stuff. Yeah, Emma.
Just wanted to point out, I mean, the Rivertown group did it, but Bemidji does too, that their weather is an ad. And I just think now more than ever, that would be so nice, just that it's done in advance, the graphic is placed, and the ad is approved, versus all of this stuff. Just put that out there.
Yeah. And that's something that maybe for print days we could figure out. The problem is that, a lot of our graphics for the rest of the days move at like 6:30 because that's when the almanac information is updated, and all of our ad and layout people leave after 6 p.m. But leave at 6 p.m. So when it's after 6 p.m., they wouldn't be able to do that. So we'd have to either have outdated information or, yeah, I like the idea. I'm just not sure exactly how we'd be able to do it, but we'll keep looking on that. Somebody asked a question about Claro. That is a step that you're not going to have to worry about anymore. Photos are going to come in from Brightspot directly into Roxen. And once entire pages are done and sent, then the whole page goes through a toning process before being sent to print rather than individual photos being toned. So we don't have to do the Claro step at all. Like the photos as they drop in are fine and we go with it. Other questions I can answer for you today? Yeah, Emily.
Do we have any updates on when announcements will be about our jobs?
I don't. I had a meeting with HR last week and they were still waiting on some things from the lawyers. I've got a meeting again later this week to get an update on things. I know that it's not going to be great news for some of you, but I'm pushing. I do want to get that news, even if it's not good for some of you, to get it as soon as possible, because I know it's hanging over your heads and I know how much that sucks. So
I was just checking. So are the people who, let's say, you're sending out emails to the people who lose their jobs, are you also going to send out an email to the people who keep their jobs? So then everyone gets an email. So then they know, instead of just staring at an empty inbox for the,
Yeah. So once we get the clearance and we can set a day to notify everyone, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up a short meeting with everyone on the team. And so we're going to meet with all of you and let you know personally, either, this is going to be your last day, and this is what the, stay package looks like and that kind of stuff. Or, you're staying with the team and do you have any questions for us? And we can have a short conversation. So we're going to talk individually with everybody that day, even if only for a few moments. So you will absolutely know for sure. So you don't have to just wait and worry that, something's coming. Certainly no one's just going to get an email that says that they're being laid off. It's going to be a conversation. Yep. Emily.
Just to clarify, because you're talking about the day of the meetings, and then you said this will be your last day. You mean you will be given a date for the future?
Yes.
Not just today is the day.
Thank you for clarifying that. Yes. You'll be told when your last day is, what outplacement resources we've got set up for you, all of that kind of stuff. If you are one of the people being laid off. So we will have that discussion at that time. But yeah, like I said, we're just going to have a quick talk with everybody so that everybody knows what their status is. Do them all the same day and everything, so we can go through all of you and kind of rip the Band-Aid off, I guess. And again, once we have a for sure date, I'll get those meetings scheduled so you all know. The faces of those of you with cameras on are great. I'm sorry we have to have this discussion. I know this part of things really sucks. I wish there was something else I could do about it, but this is where we are. If you have other questions about that, if you want to talk to me, just have a conversation personally about any of it, let me know. We can certainly do that. One other thing I just want to note quick is for Alexandria, we're going to be sending their A1s to Al for the next couple of weeks. We've just had some issues, and so he wants to see him just so he can sleep at night, and I told him that was fine. So we got that. Otherwise, Matt, did you have anything? Okay.